Craig, welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. Really good. Really good to be speaking with you. I came across you on LinkedIn. And I thought you'll be an excellent person to speak with on the podcast.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it and seeing what questions you've got in store. So it's always fun to speak to new people, and yeah, so looking forward to it.
Awesome. It'll be very straightforward. So I just have a number of areas I wanted to cover, topics I should say. So I want to get into the background into how you got into SEO. Link building is something I haven't touched on this podcast, but I'd love to get your take around the whole idea of black hat, white hat, grey hat, link building, consultancy. Of course, we've got to get into AI services, SEO community, and then we'll finish off with what you're looking forward to this year. So to start off with, as I like to do with all my guests, I like to find out how an SEO got into SEO, because I find that people who've been in SEO for 7, even 10 plus years, they have a very interesting way that they got into SEO. So with that said, how did you get into the SEO industry?
So there's no fancy, fun way that I got into it. I get in very, very early into the SEO industry, mainly because I left school in the late 1997, and the internet had just come out when I was leaving school. So I wasn't brought up with the internet, mobile phones, social media, nothing like that existed. So as a young boy leaving school, I left school, had a few jobs in sales and call centers and customer service. I had all sorts of different jobs, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. But what I did know is that I had this passion for this new thing called the internet, dial-up connection in the house, chatting to girls on MSN, all the usual stuff that we all done back in the day. So I had this kind of unhealthy obsession with the internet just because it was brand new, it was
Mm.
life changing. So I quickly started to love online, both from a personal point of view, as I say, chatting to girls on there, looking at my house on Google Earth, and all the other crazy stuff. You were just like, whoa, this is amazing. And started to look at things online, started to fiddle around, and somehow tried to fall into the category of web designer, which I didn't really do that well. I wanted to learn HTML because I left school, didn't know what I wanted to do, and I thought online is where I want to be.
Mm.
And web design was that first port of call. I was very, very poor at web design. So I had to look for the next best option, which was SEO, or SEO as it is now. So I had to look for the easy way out because websites I found very frustrating. You know, it just wasn't for me. I didn't find it natural. It was always a hard ask.
Hmm.
And I found the kind of SEO side a lot easier, and it fitted into, finding out about new things. No one knew what they were doing. So no one was up here and I was away down there. And we all just kind of, at the start, helped each other out in forums and stuff, and all
Hmm.
helped each other grow. And that's it. And I'm still here doing it to this day. So it was pure timing more than anything else, and obviously a passion for something big and new
Yeah.
is the reason that I am still here.
You have such a passion for SEO. I love the way you speak about it. You can tell that this is something that you absolutely love to the core. I'm curious, do you have a preference with a specific area of SEO, whether it be technical, on page, off page, content specific, or data, or do you prefer all of it?
I mean, I do like all of it. There's certain parts that I hate, like content writing. I just hate it. I just find it tedious and boring. But when I was learning SEO, there was no technical SEO guy. There was no link building guy. You had to do all of it in order to succeed. So I would certainly say at the time when I was learning and growing and building my own agency and whatnot, I had to do all of it. So I would say I've got a fairly broad knowledge and experience and skill set there, which a lot of people don't often have now because they do niche down and they become the on-page guy or the audit guy or whatever it might be. So, but back then, you pretty much had it was all or nothing.
Yeah, I'm finding that as well myself. I am seeing a number of people that are very specific with areas. So you'll have a technical SEO, and even with people who hire, they expect people to be very niche down these days. So you'll have a technical SEO, and that is all they focus on. Same with content. These days, less so with link builders. I don't think I've come across a link building SEO person. I think agencies these days tend to shy away from that terminology ever since Penguin. I found now that link builders, they go by the PR route, digital PR, which is fine. It's an approach. With your with the whole black hat, white hat, grey hat rhetoric of SEO. I'm sure you've come across this several points in your career. There were times where these terminology were very forefront within SEO. What's your take on the different types of hats of SEO?
I mean, I've been tarnished with the black hat over the years. I am not a fan of labeling it either way. For me, SEO is SEO. I get that agencies cannot kind of suggest or make out like they do dodgy tactics, for big corporate clients. I 100% get that. There's different terminology, different ways of phrasing things, and a whole it is what it is. Whereas someone like me who does a lot of affiliate marketing, I don't really care. I'll call a link a link, whereas an agency might call it some PR or whatever it takes to get your money from the client's pocket into your pocket. It's business is business. So I get why people do it. And I also get why people on the other side, the black hat side, just can't give a toss about the whole corporate stuff and they don't have clients or whatever to schmooze. So they say what they want to say. And some people don't like that and see it as devious and, whatever. But if you take SEO out of the equation, there's black hat and white hat and everything, whether it be politics, whether it be football, whether it be anything, what is black hat? Is Cristiano Ronaldo a black hat footballer because he took a dive one time in the penalty box? People cheat. The game things. It doesn't matter whether it's football or what. And yes, footballers do get labelled as a diving so and so, and he goes down too easy and all that kind of stuff. These labels go around, and I think it is what it is. Me and anyone else that in the white hat industry, we're not really doing anything that is that dissimilar. We're just using different terminology, and one person is making themselves sound cleverer than the other. And it certainly wouldn't be me doing that. It would certainly be someone in the corporate game, using certain phrases and stuff like that to make themselves sound as if they're doing something better or whatever. And again, that's all to game the client into paying you more money. So that's the way I see it. I don't really think there's anything wrong with it, though. We've all got to make a living, and we've just got to go about the best way in order to pitch that to our prospective clients.
Yeah, I think the whole idea of these different hats, they're very much promoted by agencies as a selling point. So I have a background in affiliates as well. So one of my first roles was with an affiliate-based company, a comparison-based company. And the owner of it wasn't concerned at all about black hat, white hat. He didn't he absolutely didn't care. He was like, as long as we're not breaking the law, and let's be frank, black hat, white hat, none of these are law breaking activities. They're just literally for guidelines or against the guidelines. In this case, being Google's. And his approach was just do whatever it takes to make it work, essentially. And I find that a number of clients still have this this sort of thinking, especially within affiliates. I say affiliates and also gaming, for example, where you have to, you don't have much of a choice. You have to be very aggressive, and that aggression might be seen as black hat SEO, but it's an industry where there's no two ways about it. You have to be aggressive, otherwise you're not going to succeed in the SERPs, and it's just that simple. Whereas some agencies, in fact, a lot of agencies, they go after, let's say, they go after a company like Apple. To differentiate themselves as a prestigious agency, they'll label and approach black hat and say we do not have black hat's tactics, which in a sense is unfair because I know a number of agencies. I've worked across many agencies, and to be very frank, every single SEO that I know of, and I would say every single SEO in the industry, has carried out what might be considered to this day black hat approach. Whereas, let's say 15, maybe even 10 years ago, it wasn't black hat at all. It wasn't considered that at all. It was just SEO. But now we have these different terms, and it's unfair, I think, for a number of SEOs, especially within the affiliate world, because I feel they get a lot of the bad rap.
I mean, you say bad rap. Yes, your face might not fit into the Brighton SEO events of this world, and I get that as well. But there's a flip side to that where there are other events and other people who want to hear that stuff. So there's room for all of us in the world. You know, there's enough money on the table and enough people who respect the kind of people who term themselves black hat or a bit more devious. So I get what you're saying, but I would say on the flip side of that, me being called black hat, yes, it has caused me certain speaking opportunities of events that I have not been ever invited to speak at, purely because they don't want that type of thing being mentioned on stage. And I get it, but it's opened up a wealth of other opportunities, which, there's another part of the world out there that are hungry for the good stuff. So I think everyone wins at that point.
Yeah, SEO is broad enough where everyone can carve up their own area of it. I mean, that's one of the beauties of the channel, right? Now, link building. If we come on to link building, I found that ever since Penguin, people don't even use the term link building anymore. It's either, I think the closest people get to it is link earning, which to me is just ridiculous. I mean, I came from the era of link building, so I'm still very much fine with the terminology. But again, going back to some SEOs, they very much stay away from this term link building. What's your take on link building in 2023?
So when you say people do stay away from it, I 100% see it. Like you say, people are scared of it. People don't want to talk about it. People will simply ignore it. But on the flip side, there are people who will be buying guest posts. They will be using niche edits. They will be using PBNs. They will be using digital PR. They will be doing everything they can to build links. A link is a link, no matter what guise you put on it. Now, for the white hat agencies or whoever they're going to call it, digital PR, link earning, pitching to Harrow and all this kind of stuff, that's fine. But the reality is the majority of links are not earned they are paid for, no matter what. And that comes down to people understanding the value of a link. So if you come to me and say, Craig, I want a link in your website, the first thing I'm going to say is, how much are you paying me? That's the same for any webmaster. It doesn't matter whether they're an SEO or not. They know they can squeeze 50 to $100 out of you for your article. So you're going to be writing an article for them and paying them some money to get that link. That's just all there is to it. Unless you really are doing digital PR and you're pitching to the BBC some statistics or some crazy ass angle to get in there. Of course, that level of PR can work for you, but the reality is it cannot work every time, and you need volume of links. So you are going to have to buy a guest post, a link placement, which may be a link on an older article or whatever it's going to be. So on the other side of the coin, link building is link building, and people are calling themselves link builders. And they will simply say, I've got any website you want in any niche. Here's the list. Give me some money and I'll place your link. So link building for me is still very active, still works very, very well. And there's a million link builders out there. You're not telling me that they're all wrong. And I don't mean you personally, but anyone listening, you're not telling me that all of these guys are making hundreds of millions of pounds per year selling links are all wrong. And you, small minority of guys who don't buy links, are doing it right. The reality is anyone who's buying links and doing all of that are the ones who are making money.
Did you find that you need to also use the disavow tool more and more?
Yes and no. Certainly the disavow, have I used it? Yes. Has someone attacked my website and sent a whole bunch of garbage to it? Yes. That's happened, and of course I've had to clean that up. However, I am not, and a lot of people are the same. Why would we do Google's job for them and clean up the backlink profile? That's the other side of the SEO argument. I ain't sending a disavow. I ain't going to tell Google to kill half of my links off. Why the hell would they do that? I'm not doing my job for them. And Google have got this thing where, they've done it with guest posts, where they wanted you to add in, this is sponsored content, a tag to suggest it was sponsored content, so that Google can devalue the link. Why would you ever do that? Why? So Google are clever, and this is the way I see it, right? I'm just going to say it straight. People are like sheep. So if Google say don't do something, 80% of the people won't do it. They'll crap their pants and not do it. 20% of people are devious and go, I'm going to still do it anyway. To hell with what Google think. It's those 20% of people who do well, but Google can manipulate and spread misinformation and get you to do things to clean up their ecosystem. And disavow is one of those things where you essentially are helping them clean up their ecosystem. So be careful what you disavow. Of course, disavow absolute junk, but don't disavow stuff that potentially could give you some form of ranking benefit.
Yeah, that's what I think. What you're saying, it made me think of what a number of people say as far as SEO and Google relationships, saying how SEOs are essentially PR for Google. And we're their mouthpiece. When they have an algorithm update or release, for example, it's always the SEOs that spread the news of it. Do you think we sometimes focus too much on Google?
Yeah, I think so, massively. I think we overcomplicate it as well. When Google say something, these SEOs try and come up with this special formula and twist it all. And, the game is fairly simple. It's a combination of different things. And I think SEOs cause a lot of havoc on their own for themselves by just nature, the way they are. They're passionate about it and want to talk about it, and they want to be first to spread information. And as I say, Google are able to play with a lot of SEOs with just the nature of what SEO guys are like, and girls and everything else.
Yeah, I sometimes feel overwhelmed by the number of noise that's out there with just opinions being spun into different ways. I mean, the guidelines are very clear, but there's like an unlimited amount of opinions around the guidelines, and it's just so it can get too much sometimes. And I think clients rely or listen to SEOs chatter around the guidelines, and sometimes it's actually best just to focus on what matters, i.e., someone's business, a client's business, right? Otherwise, it's a case of who are we working for? We got to tread that line carefully sometimes. Now, let's move on to consultancy for clients. The whole SEO or consultant client relationship is a very interesting one to me. How would you describe the agent, or should I say, the consultancy and client dynamic?
I mean, I think a lot of clients out there need guidance. Not necessarily all of the grunt work done. A lot of clients have in-house teams that can do certain things. So I think the role of a consultant to come in and guide them without necessarily being in charge of all the deliverables, it's important, because you're leveraging the consultant based on their experience, their opinion, their expertise, rather than relying on them to maybe badly manage a content campaign. Because I think, it can become overwhelming when you've got a client and you're trying to be the consultant, the link builder, the content strategist, the audit guy, the technique, all of these things that come into play. It's very, very difficult to do all of that and talk about all of that with a client and guide the client and educate the client and train the client. So I think they are two different roles, and very often when I've been doing client work in the past, I have said to the client, do you want consultancy on top of the job done and a training course? Because that's essentially what you're asking me for. Now, I can either go away and do the job for what you're paying me, but I can't sit on the phone and hold your hand, consult with you, and train you all for the same budget, because there's not enough hours in the day to do that. So I think the great thing about hiring a consultant is you don't have to hide things. You can have a straightforward conversation with the client saying, that's garbage, we need to spend this, we need to do that, we need to audit this, that's it. There's whereas I think if you take ownership of it all as a service provider, the client's got you on the back foot all the time, and they're picking holes in everything that you're doing, even though they're not in a position to pick holes. They don't know what they're doing. They've never audited a website in their life.
Right.
So I think the role of a consultant is key, because the client is getting the best possible advice. And then potentially getting someone else to do the heavy lifting. And that onus should really go on the business owner. If you can't get the content writer, you can't get your staff internally to provide this, that, or the next thing, that's on you, the business, not the poor SEO guy who's been underpaid and had everything shoved onto his lap. So for me, I think it's a much better relationship hiring a consultant and then maybe having external or even internal marketing staff who can do the kind of heavy lifting, the content and stuff like that. So for me, it works a hell of a lot better, that relationship, than maybe, as I say, just going to a freelancer and giving them everything.
Yeah, I've found that a number of SEOs client side, when they've hired a consultancy firm, they're met with this challenge where, okay, they have the recommendations, a strategy from the consultants, but then they have this uphill battle of trying to have the recommendations implemented. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but whenever I've provided recommendations, there's always a long period of time, and I'm talking months, where the SEO internally has been spending all that time trying to essentially get buy-in, either get buy-in from the business or get buy-in from individuals in different departments, right? Operationally. And there's a case of, okay, the SEO internally, they've spent so much of their time trying to get the business to buy in to hire the consultant in the first place. But now they have to spend even more
Yeah.
time convincing the business to actually implement the recommendations. What would you say a consultant can do to help that internal SEO person to move the needle and or actually have things implemented and move the needle for the business?
I mean, as a consultant myself, again, that initial conversation with the business owners, the people that pay the bills, the SEO consultant should be having that conversation with these people as well as the internal SEO guy. But I think, the SEO consultant can help hire, and they can give you processes, they can help guide you in a lot of that stuff. So there is obviously a stumbling block from an internal SEO. There's that gap in the middle there where they might not know how to outsource, they might not
Mm,
have the processes, the SOPs in order to do this stuff efficiently. So I think all of that is going to help convince the money guy to release the money. If this stuff can happen quickly and easily, and there's a structure to it, then I think that's a big part in the process. However, if it's a case of a business owner or the person in there that's in charge of the finances doesn't really believe in SEO, but they've hired a consultant, and then there's an SEO guy in there trying to fight to get the rest done. That's an extremely difficult situation that you can't really give an answer for. Typically, what I would be telling that business owners to piss off and stop wasting my time, unless they're going to buy in. What was the point in hiring me in the first place? One
mm,
of the first questions I would ask as a consultant is, what are you prepared to pay per month? What is your budget per month to spend on these things? That is a very upfront conversation I would have at the start, because if someone turns around and says, I've got 200 a month to do all of this stuff and I want to rank nationwide for some real big commercial terms, you're wasting my time and your own £200 and whatever else is there. So let's stop wasting the time. So the money conversation always comes first before we have to go in and basically do anything else. And once you get buy-in from them, going, yeah, Craig, I'm quite prepared to throw X amount of money at it for the next 6 months. Obviously, for me, you're trying to tell them, it could take between 6 and 12 months to get a campaign up and running properly, but you don't judge me in 2 months when half of your content's not even been written. So there's a lot of early conversations that you're going to have in that conversation that should try and eliminate this further down the line. Because if someone doesn't want to pay you, essentially they're not going to pay you regardless of what you say. They shouldn't have hired your consultancy in the first place, and probably shouldn't even have an SEO guy in-house if they don't believe in it. So you need to be working with people who actually have the money to make it successful. Because as I say, there's so many businesses, so many people out there who don't have the budget to make this work. And that is where a lot of the failures come from, is because they're not spending enough time. They don't understand it properly. And, they've got this false expectation. And all of those have to be dealt with. And I would see that as my job, to make sure that from the get-go, the information I'm going to give you, to the best of my knowledge, is really how it's going to work and what you have to spend and the timescales it's going to take for you to get a return on investment.
mm. Yeah, SEO internally, client side, it's a very interesting one, because I think a lot of business leaders, they get the idea of SEO. They may have heard of it, perhaps at a conference or something, and they feel they need the channel, but they don't really want to spend the time being more aware of it. And I think this is where things like workshops and training is very helpful for businesses internally. Is this something that you're finding that a lot of businesses need, not just for the SEO person, but for people working with SEO? So other departments working alongside SEO.
Yeah, so I have actually got a mastermind, and a lot of the guys that are in that are just business owners who want to understand the core concepts of what goes into SEO. They don't want to do it. They just want to learn what's involved, so that they can better make decisions on hiring, firing, managing, and all of that kind of stuff. They need to know the intricate details of what works without having to sit there and actually do it all. So for any business owner out there, I would 100% say spend 2 or 3 days understanding the basics of SEO. They understand more than the basics. The more you learn, the better and easier the job will become for the person that's working with you. But at least understand the basics of it. Do not sit there and think that some special guy out there's got a special little tool and he turns it all on and in comes all this money to your website, because it does not work like that. There's a lot of hard work, time, effort, research, content creation, link building, technical, all of that stuff takes time, months worth of time, money from the client end and all that kind of stuff to join all of the. There's lots of moving parts with SEO, and they all have to come together. And the easiest way that I describe this to someone is, if you come to me and say, Craig, I've got $2,000 a month and I want to spend it on this project, I might say, in an ideal world, you need $4,000 a month. Now, I can work with you in $2,000 a month, but it's going to take a lot longer to get to where we need to be. So in month 1, with your $2,000, I might just do some research and some content planning and maybe even order some content. In month 2, I might order some more of that content and add some of that content to the website, doing some basic on-page SEO. Month 3, it might be similar again. Month 4 might be similar again. Do not come to me after month 2 saying where's all my traffic, because we've not even got to the link building stage. We've not even got to the technical stage. We don't have enough fucking money to do the job properly. Unless you've 10 grand up front that you can pay me to get all of this content that you don't have on your website, then it's going to take a hell of a lot longer. And once you draw that picture out, they go, right, fine, I get it. I could go out on a new project just now and go and spend $5,000 in content right now at some content farm. Is that required on a new project to get it off the ground? Probably, because you've got so much content that's not on your website, it's impossible to rank. So that is the part that I think, I don't know why, but business owners and stuff, miss that part, and you're just like, dude, it's such a big thing. If you don't have a page about something in your website, you can't rank for it. It's as simple as that. So it's a lot harder than you think in terms of hard work and effort. And again, you get the fallback. Can't we just steal that guy's content and copy and paste this? And you're like, sadly, you need to pay someone out there to actually sit down and write it. So that's where the cost comes in. So you're always fighting a losing battle, which is why I don't like doing client work, because it's constant fighting for money, and you're always fighting for the lower end of the money. It's not as if you're fighting for the big bucks. These people will give you resistance on even getting the basics done properly.
Yeah, I find that client-side SEOs are very much seen as the little people, especially in the very beginning. They're seen as the child, should we say, in digital marketing. Other marketing channels, yes, it's very straightforward to get budget. With SEO, it's a case of you got to fight until afterwards. Either they've been doing SEO for a number of years and have seen sustainable growth, and or they've been hit by an algorithm update and their traffic has tanked. Then it's a case of, okay, we need to pay attention to our SEO, which is a shame because there's a need for a preventative measure when it comes to SEO, especially
Yeah.
nowadays as we're moving more and more into the AI revolution. What's your take on AI generated content?
Personally, I wouldn't put it on any of my websites at its current state. As much as I love ChatGPT and entering prompts into it and it churns out some amazing stuff, it's not going to work long term on a website. AI content isn't something that's brand new. People have been using it for a year or two now. You had Jarvis and Jasper. I know they changed names or whatever, but you've had these things around for a while, and I think whilst these tools can help with a lot of other digital marketing related stuff. For example, ChatGPT. I know I could go and write an ebook with ChatGPT right now and launch a book tomorrow, a big book. I could do that easy peasy. But there's nothing there that's going to stop me from doing that. I could go and launch a website tomorrow with 100 new pages with ChatGPT, but Google's algorithm is going to smash me for AI content. Now, that's the big problem we have as SEOs. Because we like content on the internet, and Google's algorithm's always looking for ways to I don't know, compress the amount of pages that are on the internet, and they're going to pick out AI content for sure. They are. I think that's going to come back to haunt a lot of people, and a lot of people who are putting out AI content just now. I can see them in 6 months' time having no website left because Google's just wiped it out. And Google have done this for years and years and years. It's no surprise to anyone that this is going to happen. So would I be investing heavily in a website with AI content? Absolutely not. Would I be using AI content to write LinkedIn posts? Would I be using AI content to write ebooks? Would I be using AI content for a whole bunch of different stuff? Of course I would. It's amazing, but not for website content. I just think that, in my opinion anyway, and I know you can get away with it just now because I've got a test website that all I do is fill with AI content. I just want to see how hard I can push it and how far I can scale it before Google catch up with it. So whilst I do have that, I do fully expect that website to be hit pretty hard further down the line. But we'll have to wait and see. Obviously no one has the crystal ball out there, but I can't see Google allowing that stuff to stick at all.
We've seen this sort of thing before, haven't we? With the whole, I think it was during or just before Panda, when there was an influx of content being spun, right? Remember eSign, hub pages, Squidoo lenses, and even one's website, right? The theory back then, or not the theory, the sentiment back then was to use these sort of spinning articles and spin articles on these sort of places, eSign, Squidoo, is it hub pages? I think it was, but never on one's website. And I think that is sort of falling away with the new generation of SEOs who are considering AI-based content, because they just see it as content is content. But there's what you mentioned right there is very apt, I think, for SEOs these days. If you're going to experiment with it, either do so on a different property, a different website, or create something brand new, but never on your own website. That's too much of a value for you to mess around with.
or a client's, a client's multi-million-pound business,
Exactly.
and some dodgy SEO guy's got to slap some chat GPT on there. It's not really fair
No.
to be doing that at all. So, yeah, it's just not for me personally. I've been round the block. If there really was a cheat in order of getting free good content that stuck, believe you me, I would be fighting everyone off at the top of the queue to get in there because I deserve it, because of the length of time I've been in the industry. I would be first one in there wanting the easy ride, but sadly, I just don't think it's there with Chat GPT.
No.
I just think there's everyone's going to pile in and do it. That's the thing, and everyone's going to blows it all up. I already know people that are, they've got Python scripts, adding the content to their websites, and they're doing this, and they're not adding 10 pages a day. They're adding thousands of pages per day. And, Google has to draw a line under that. It cannot allow that to happen.
It's going to come down, I think, to value, isn't it? At some point, it's going to be, okay, you have volume, but where's the value? And I think that also ties into their approach with updating their EAT to EEAT. So the expertise is a big factor now, not just EAT anymore. It's EEAT. And unfortunately, some people are going to get burned. It's good for consultants because it's going to open up to more work, I think. But there are some SEOs who see it as a killer of the industry. Do you have that viewpoint that AI is going to kill SEOs?
I think it will kill lazy SEOs for sure. I'm not sure. It's not going to kill SEOs. We've always had to look over our shoulder in terms of what we're doing. And nothing has changed since back in the day. What has been rewarded by Google is good quality content that offers value to the user. That's never changed. Google has never penalised you for that. But they penalise you for everything in between. The spinning, the AI, whatever. So you're never going to get penalised for good, solid elbow grease. And now, if you look at any good website out there that's performing well in the search engines, it's taken time. It has had the right budget spent on it. It's had, unique content on there and all that kind of stuff. Any website that stands the test of time has taken hard work and dedication. That's all SEO is. There is no shortcut, and that is the big problem. 98% of SEOs out there want to cut corners. They're too lazy to do the job properly. Even when it's not using their own money, they're using the client's money and still doing it crap. They're putting more of that money in their pocket rather than spending it on a better content writer or whatever it may be. So they're doing a disservice. So I think the kind of crap SEOs are going to get flushed out of the market very, very quickly, unless you buck up and start to implement better strategies and better techniques.
Now, 20 plus years in the industry, how has the industry, the SEO industry, evolved in your eyes?
I mean, it's evolved massively. Like I said just there, links and content have always been the core of SEO, but it evolves what type of links, what type of content. It always evolves. Before, back in the day, slapping up a page worth of content on a domain name, it used to rank. Exact match domains used to work for you until there became a point where everyone bought up every exact match domain name in their niche, and Google had to give less weight to exact match domain names. Then people, when you look at link building, a link used to be a link back in the day. It used to be all article based and all that kind of directory based and stuff like that primarily, until there became a point where every SEO under the sun bought every directory link known to man. And again, Google had to make a decision on, right, we can't just give all the weight to directories and the number of links that you've got, we're going to have to look at relevance and quality. So things evolve all the time, and I can fully understand the reasons why, because us as SEOs, we pile in and we ruin everything. We pile in. If there's a loophole there, they all pile in and they abuse it and abuse it and abuse it, to the point where it just no longer works. So I think I've seen so many cases of things evolving for the better, if you like, though. I think it makes the game a bit more difficult, but think of it as a common sense way. If you were Google and you were basing your decision on who should rank in the top on the top page of Google, this guy, that guy, or that guy, it's always going to be the guy that's got quality, whether it comes from a link building, the fast loading website that serves the user intent and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's all still common sense to me. That's always been the end goal. And obviously, back in the day, Google didn't know what SEOs would do to try and manipulate the system. But I think the system has been manipulated that much where you just have to use common sense. And I don't think a lot of SEOs have got a lot of common sense, to be honest. And I think that's where there's still gaps in the market. But it evolves and it's fun. Whilst it evolves, it can be frustrating. But the reality is there's always a reason for these updates, and it's to flush out the garbage bin, so to speak.
What would you say frustrates you about the industry?
What frustrates me about the industry? I mean, it doesn't frustrate me personally, but I see a lot of people want everything laid in their laps. They don't want to try anything for themselves. They don't want to think for themselves. They don't want to test anything for themselves. And for me, when you hear someone speak and maybe take the time out to tell you something about SEO, a lot of the industry are like, nah, that can't be true. That can't be true. No. Neil Patel said that's not true, without actually going and testing it. That's the thing. Go test it and then say it's not true. So I think there's this attitude of, nah, this can't be true, to the point where no one actually tries anything. And you can't make an informed decision based on that. So that gets very frustrating when you have conversations with people and they say, nah, that doesn't work. How does it not work? Because I sort of saw this guy saying it didn't work and whatever, and you're like, so you haven't tried it? You just assumed it didn't work because one guy said it. So that for me is very, very frustrating to see people have that approach to it rather than actually try it. Like me with AI content, I want to see how hard I can push it, and to see how far I can blow up. Then when someone asks me the question, Craig, how long did it take for your website to get slapped from AI content? How long does your AI content stick for? How many articles can you add a day? These are all questions I can answer, and I can answer them with proof. I can show the evidence. I've got nothing to hide. No one can argue with me at that point. Job done. So regardless of who said what, I know from my own testing what works and what doesn't. So, and that then, like you say, eliminates a lot of the noise that's out there, because there is so much noise, so much different opinion. And this game is not the way that Craig does it is the only way that works. Everyone's got their own different ways of making a website rank. There is no one way works. And that's where a lot of the noise will come from. But some people have got long-winded ways. Some people have probably got better ways than me. You just got to do what works for you and try and get there at the cheapest, most cost-effective way possible.
It's interesting you say people don't test as much as they used to. I absolutely agree with that, because I also have seen that throughout the years there's been less and less people willing to test, and I think that's I put it down to two reasons. One is I think there are more agencies now that hire SEOs, so there are more SEOs, and the SEOs that are around tend to work agency side. And two,
Mm-hmm.
there's almost like a fixed amount of people that SEOs tend to go to as their um, gurus and those who almost do the testing for them. So they themselves don't spend the time doing it hands-on, getting their hands dirty and learning things for themselves. So they're either spending their time working on the clients at agency side or listening to a specific set of people that they see as, if you like, the stars within the industry. And that is well, I prefer testing. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, well, I think it's a sad truth. That is what happens, and that's not healthy. You know, we want
Mm-mm.
more debate, we want more testing, we want more people to prove people wrong and try things and show that other ways can work. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it makes for a good debate.
No, no. Now it's the start of the year. What are you looking forward to business-wise this year?
What am I looking forward to business wise this year? I'm trying to think if I've got anything that's that exciting. I have a few new projects. I don't want to talk too much about them just now,
Okay, sure.
um, but they're not ready for the second or third quarter of the year.
Right.
They are not so. Yeah, I've got a couple of things that I'm going to be doing. I don't want to mention too much just yet because it will potentially put a few noses out of joint. So there are a couple of things I'm working on though, that I want to launch, but it's going to be later in the year.
Mm-hmm.
For this year, I am going to cut down on a lot of speaking gigs. I
Mm-hmm.
need to focus more on those new opportunities, and just you know evolving my business model, so to speak, just future proofing the business model. So less traveling, less parties, and more actual business restructuring, let's call it that, is what I'm doing this year. And for me, I'm not going to make massive progression from last year to this coming year, but I'm future proofing. The business, so business restructuring internally, different, just slightly different model, in terms of how I make money and revenue and stuff, and a couple of new projects on the go. So nothing too major, but it's just future proofing what I'm doing, and obviously changing up my approach slightly as to what I was doing previously. And as I say, just taking this year out to make sure that I do it properly and
Mm-hmm.
get myself back on a solid playing field, and then the year after that I can scale and hopefully scale, for the next 5 years or so. So I think this business restructure is going to set me up for what I want to do over the next 10 years.
Right.
So again, then, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, hopefully I should continue to progress, and make more money at that point. So I think this is a year of
Positioning,
pivoting slightly.
pivoting.
But
Yeah.
that happens from time to time, and
Mm-hmm.
you've got to do it. So I look forward to it.
Mm. So regarding speaking engagements, are there any that you have this year? I think there was an affiliate one that I came across where you're speaking at this year.
Yeah, so I've got Affiliate World Dubai, which is, what it says in the tin. It's one of the world's biggest affiliate conferences, 6,000 attendees. I will also be doing Chiang Mai SEO later in the year, November, which is Matt Diggity's conference. I've signed the contract to do that. And there's a couple of others in between. that I will do, but I'm probably looking at doing maybe 5 or 6 speaking events this year, tops, no more than that. Just purely because of the time and effort that goes into these is frightening. So that's the hope. I've done a lot more last year and stuff, but this year I want to cut it down slightly. Just it's a lot of work, a lot of traveling, so it's not always all it's cracked up to be. So I need to just be selective in where I go.
Yeah, understandable. Craig, thank you so much for your time. Where can people find you online?
So you can find my website, craigcampbellseo.com, or if you just put in Craig Campbell SEO into Google, you'll find me on any social media platform, or my YouTube channel, which I've got 900 plus different video tutorials, live Q&A sessions, and all of that good stuff. So there's a lot of free content over there if you want to learn more about digital marketing or SEO specifically.
Brilliant. I'll have those links in the description.